Hey guys, it's Matthew. Just wanted to record this really fast video regarding Project Zero to get you guys up and running in this class. If you read the introduction in the textbook, it's going to mention that it would like for you to do the Hello World exercise with either Text Edit or Notepad. Text Edit is the default text application on a Mac, and Notepad is the text edit application on a PC. But actually, we're not going to be using either of those. I would prefer that you guys went directly and started doing things with Phoenix Code, okay? So the web URL is phcode.io. And as soon as you get to the website, it's going to recognize the kind of machine that you're using or computer that you're using. And you can go ahead and download the software, okay? Once you have that going, what I want you to do is launch the application. And then if you need to start a new file, which I would suggest you do, you can click the little folder over here. And this really cool like launch window will open up. And I would suggest that you click on HTML5. And then it's going to say, well, where do you want your project to live? Because we're doing a new HTML project. First of all, we need to give it a name. We're going to call it Project Zero. And then we're going to put it in a place where we can find it consistently down the road. Okay. And I have an external drive where I keep all my stuff. Maybe you want to put your files on your desktop or within your documents folder. You guys, it's really important that you know where your stuff is and that it's consistently there. And so if you have trouble with organization, please just try to find a place where you can, consistently find your course assets so that we can get projects done. So in my circumstance, I have an external drive and it's a teaching folder and I have an archive. And then I'm going to scroll down. Here's my Web Design 1 folder. And then I even have some project folders here already. And I've created this Summer 2026 folder. So I'm going to open. And actually, it's saying that there's already one there. So I'm going to actually, in this circumstance, guys, I'm going to say project 00. Okay. And then I'm going to say create project. Okay. So notice like we've started this new project and we can even see it's called Project Zero, or in my case, 00 up here at the top. And then it gives us an index file, and then it does give us like a JavaScript file and a CSS file. And you guys, I don't want us to worry about these two uh, files right now. Let's just focus on the index.html. As a reminder, I also want to just mention that index.html is the home base for a website. And so instead of calling it home.html, it's actually called index.html because what'll happen is like a web browser, if you have like a website launched on a server and it's up in the cloud or it's available globally essentially, the web browser will make a call to the server for the index.html so that it can bring that information down from the server and onto your computer to render on your screen. And that's pretty much the gist of how it works. It's a little bit simplified, but that's it. Um, with this software, it's actually doing a lot of the work already. Okay. So I'm actually going to come in and delete all of the body and head text here because I kind of want us to just do something really simple. And in fact, the other thing I want to get rid of is I don't even want the language to be defined as English. I just want to have some raw HTML text. And the other thing I do want to keep though, where it says doc type HTML, keep that. And then you have an opening tag for HTML. Whoops. And then a closing tag for HTML, okay? And so if you go to the project PDF, it'll actually show you like, the opening HTML tag right here, and then the closing HTML tag. And the difference between an opening and a closing is just that slash right there. Okay? That's it. So opening, closing. All right. And if we go to our code editor, that's what we've got so far. So the next thing we want to make is an opening and a closing for the head portion of the document. So I'm gonna go back here, put my cursor where it needs to be. I'm gonna hit return. Then I'm gonna type the text. And this coding application is kind of cool because it actually creates the closing tag automatically because 99.9% of the time, an opening tag always has a closing tag. Okay, folks? So that's the opening and the closing. So I like to kind of have things above and below, sort of like that. And you can kind of see it's being formatted like this. Within the head portion of the document, which by the way is invisible to the user or the client, or another way to put it, the person looking at the screen. And so they're not gonna see a lot of this information actually on the screen. And I'm about to prove it to you, okay? So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna hit return now, and notice how things are getting indented over, okay, which is pretty handy. Um, so I'm gonna hit the little arrow guy, HEAD, and notice how it automatically created the closing for me. Whoops, but I just made a mistake. I can't have two heads, within the HTML document. I meant to type title. Whoops. And so we'll fix that. It's red because it's basically informing me that I've made a mistake. There we go. It's kind of nice, actually. Okay, so title. I'm going to call this hello world exclamation point. Hit Command S. Um, I want to show you guys how you can open an HTML document in a browser, which I believe can be really handy. So I'm going to go to the location where I have saved my HTML file. And remember, that's why it's important for you to know where your stuff is. So teaching, archive, courses, this is like where like I saved my stuff. Maybe your stuff is on the desktop or in a course folder that's within your documents folder. I don't know. If you're having a lot of trouble just kind of like understanding where your files are on a computer, it's not the end of the world, but it's just going to be an additional sort of wall for you to get through with this class. And if you have, a lot of those questions, I mean, if we need to do a Zoom call, maybe I can help. But the real truth is, I can definitely help you on a Mac, but I find PCs to be really unintuitive. And sometimes, like, students will be looking for things, and I'll just look at them and I'll say, I don't know where you saved your stuff. It's somewhere on this computer, but I don't know where it is. Um, so, just, be really mindful of where you're saving your files. I know my stuff is here, and then I created a folder in Project Zero called 2026 Summer, and then I created this one called Project Double Zero. And so there's my index.html file, and I'm going to go ahead and right click. I've engaged the secondary click on my mouse, so I can hit right click and open with Google Chrome. Okay. And there we go. We can see that even like the location up here in the browser address window, it says index.html, and that's giving me the exact sort of breadcrumb location on my computer. So courses, web design, Project Zero, 2026, Project 00, yada, yada, yada. So this is the index.html rendered as of now. I do want to point out, remember I plugged in the title of the website that says Hello World here. Well, up in this tab, it says Hello World. Cool. All right. And just to kind of show you how fast and simple, like I think this is a really effective thing for you guys to be doing while you're doing all of these projects. I like having the website open in a browser, and then I'll save it, and then I'll go back to the browser and I'll refresh, and I'll kind of do this dance back and forth so that I can see the changes happening real time. So what if I wanted to add more exclamation points? Okay, now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to hit refresh and I'm going to see what happened. Well, I don't see the exclamation points. Well, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to see them, and I'll tell you why. In order to see the changes, this is a very important thing that I want folks to really pay attention to. In order to see the changes here on the browser, I actually need to go back and I need to save the file. So I need to hit Command S for save. Now, if I come back here and hit Command R or refresh, now you can see the exclamation points up in the tab, okay? So in order for the changes that you make in your HTML index file to be visible in the browser, you have to save it, and then you also have to refresh your browser. That kind of makes sense, but I think in this day and age, a lot of folks just kind of like assume that things are automated all the time. And this particular class is actually a little bit sort of, like it's teaching you these foundational coding skills with HTML and CSS. And I'm really like sort of doing, I designed this course intentionally to sort of like be talking about the basics of HTML so that you can have a pretty good understanding moving forward. That's my philosophy, okay? Okay. So now let's go back to maybe the project PDF. And we've created the HTML opening and closing, and then the head opening and closing, and then we created a title as well, although ours says hello world with a bunch of exclamation points. Well, now I'm going to create an opening and a closing for the body. And remember, like the head I mentioned is invisible to the viewer. So in fact, if we go to Google Chrome, there's nothing on this page. It's just like a blank slate. There's nothing there. Well, that's because we haven't added any visible content yet, and we're about to do that, okay? So now I'm going to go back to this page, and first thing I want to do is I want to create the opening and the closing for the body, which is the visible portion of the website. So opening, closing, let's do that first. Let's go back to our editor. I'm going to do that below the head portion. So I'm going to hit return on my computer, body. It created the closing automatically, hit enter for return. And we want to create an H1, and H1 stands for header one. In future chapters, we'll be talking about the difference between like header one, header two, header three, header four. So in the meantime, just kind of trust me and type in the code, okay? We want the H1 to be in between the opening and the closing. So we have to like move our cursor up, then hit enter. Now create your H1 opening, which is all lowercase, by the way. It created a closing automatically. And then we can say, hey, this is so much fun doing some simple coding! Exclamation. Command S. Now I'm going to go back, Google Chrome, hit Command R for refresh. Boom, there it is. Hey, this is so much fun doing some simple coding. Great, right? Okay. Now let's go back and let's add some paragraph text. And we're going to put this in the body portion of the HTML document as well, but below the H1. So there's my blinking cursor, hit return. Now I'm going to make a paragraph tag, which is just a P, okay? And then I'm just gonna, I don't know, do some additional text like, yes, as a graphic designer, you really do need to know HTML and CSS. Trust me. Hit Command S. Now let's go back and check how it looks on the web page. Hit Command R. And so notice how the H1 is in all caps and pretty large and up top on the page. And then below that is some plain paragraph text. Yes, as a graphic designer, you really do need to know HTML and CSS, trust me. And then Command S it. Okay. Um, what I like to do I want to show you guys how to upload a project. And for this, even project zero, it's like it's easy points, frankly. For each project, I would like for you guys to compress your folder. And in order to do that, like here, I created this folder called Project 00. If I have secondary click engaged on my machine, right click, and then you can, after you've saved everything, by the way, too, so save it first, and then go to your folder that contains your index file and these other two things for right now. We're not going to be talking about those, but go ahead and like leave those in there, okay? The folder, right click, and then on a Mac, compress. There's a way to compress a folder on a PC as well. Unfortunately, I can't show you in this tutorial, so if you need to, you might have to look at another YouTube video to understand how to do that. So, but now notice how project 0 or 00 in my case has been zipped or compressed. And essentially now you can upload this zip folder to Canvas for credit, okay? And as soon as I see, like I'm going to open up all of your individual files and see that you're able to do this. And as soon as you get it done, then project one will be available and you can move on down the train tracks, okay? I do want to remind you guys that this class is cumulative. And what that means is that in order to be successful with project one, you need to be successful with project zero. Similarly, in order to be successful with project two, you need to have completed project one. In order to be successful with project three, you need to have been successful at project two, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, you really can't skip anything in this class. You can't think, oh, I'm just not feeling it with this project. I think I'll just go, do something else, and I think I'll be able to figure it out later. I think that's a really bad plan for this course in particular. You need to be really on every single chapter, every single um, category of information so that you can be on the up and up as you're moving down the train tracks in this course, okay? So please give this your best. It's very important that you're able to do this initial one, especially because it's all about using this new code editor called Phoenix Code, which seems to be working just fine so far. And it's compatible with both a Mac and a PC. Uh, I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you. And if you do have questions, you can email me and we can have maybe a Zoom and we can try to figure out whatever issues you might be having on your end. So I'm here to help, okay? And I'm also here to give you some technical skills. This is an intro. Here's another thing. I told you guys I have a tendency to talk a lot, but this is an introductory course. And so please don't think that you're going to be a Jedi or Sith Lord coder by the end of this class. It does take a lot more sort of experience and time to get there. But the way that I see this course is that it is really great at opening the door for you so that you can hopefully become obsessed with this kind of thing and possibly even um, enjoy doing this kind of stuff because there is something sort of aesthetic and beautiful about code and the way it's structured on the page. Okay. Please also keep in mind that maybe you have a goal in mind. Maybe you want to eventually create a website for yourself. Maybe you're an artist or a designer and you'd like to have a portfolio website. So be dreaming about like some simple things that you can do as we move forward. Okay. I think that's enough for today. And thank you guys. Bye bye.